much together. Please open our minds to those things you want us to learn. And please help us to be able to remember the things that you teach us today. In Jesus' name, amen.
So Brother Larry wants to go first. No?
I can try it, definitely. I'll be happy to.
You said you were ready.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay.
All right, Revelation 10, 1 through 4. And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet were as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book open. And he set his right foot upon the sea, and his left foot upon the earth. And he cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roareth. And when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. And when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered, and write them not. All right, I did it.
No, you did. You got Seventh-day Adventist Bible Commentary, Volume 7, page 9.
Oh, I wasn't able to get that far. Sorry, I only did the 4 verses.
No?
I only have the 4 verses too.
Okay, go ahead.
And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book open, and he set his right foot upon the sea, and his left foot upon the earth. And he cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roareth. And when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. And when 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write, and I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered, and write them not. Amen.
Who wants to go? Okay. Norris.
Yes.
Norris.
And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book open, and he set his right foot upon the sea, and his left foot on the earth. And he cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roareth. And when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. And when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I heard a voice saying...
I was about.
Sorry?
I was about.
I was about to write, and I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered, and write them not. Revelation 10, 1 to 4. After these 7 thunders uttered their voices, the injunction comes to John as to Daniel in regard to the little book. Seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered. These relate to future events which will be disclosed in their order. The special light given to John, which was expressed in the 7 thunders, was a delineation of events which will transpire under the first and second angel's messages. Would transpire under the first and second angel's messages. SDA Bible Commentary, Volume 7, page 971.
Sister Brahma?
He's got one more.
I don't know where you guys got that. The next one is for next week.
Really?
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 Yeah.
She's ready.
So bad.
But I may have reprinted them. I think there was a protest, they were too big.
So the original printing, we had to learn all
divided
3.
it that way. That's how we divided it.
Did we have to learn 3 or 2?
Yeah, 3.
Yeah, we learned 3 this week.
Yeah.
The printer doesn't lie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
I
printer
got
also
one. I
made-
divided it.
Yeah, we got one more.
We got 3 this week.
And only one next week?
I'll give you what we have for this
The
week.
next week's one is like.
But
Next one is
a-
a long.
It's not even
Block
inspired
of
the
text.
next week.
Yeah.
That's enough.
So how do you want to do it?
So I guess
Yeah,
we'll
well, do
do
what you're
mine.
prepared to do. I guess that means Larry. You got 1 out of 3 instead of 1 out of 2.
Oh,
The poor student over
You
here.
had one day versus one day.
Yeah.
I think you did good.
And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud.
Wait a second. Brother Lawrence,
Huh?
you left off the last part.
I can do this. And he saith unto me, seal not the saying of the prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand. He that is unjust, let him be unjust still. He that is filthy, let him be filthy still. And he that is righteous, let him be righteous still. And he that is holy, let him be holy still. Revelation 20, 10 and 11.
22.
22, yeah, 10.
Okay.
I saw another angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book open, and he set his right foot upon the sea and his left foot on the earth, and cried with a loud voice as when a lion roareth. And when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. And when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write, and I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered, and write them not. Revelation 10, 1 through 4. And he saith unto me, seal not the sayings of the prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand. He that is unjust, let him be unjust still, and he which is filthy, let him be filthy still, and he that is righteous, let him be righteous still, and he that is holy, let him be holy still. Revelation 22, 10 and 11. After these 7 thunders uttered their voices, the injunction comes to John as to Daniel in regard to the little book. Seal up those things which 7 thunders uttered. These relate to future events which will be disclosed in their order. The special light given to John was a delineation of events which would transpire under the first. The special light given to John, which was expressed in the 7 thunders, was a delineation of events which would transpire under the first and second angels' messages. Seventh-day Adventist Bible Commentary, Volume 7, 971.
Marco,
Volume 7, page 971.
what'd she say?
Volume 971 or something.
Volume 7, 971, sorry.
And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and the rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet like pillars of fire.
As.
As pillars of fire. And he cried with a loud voice, as is the Lord.
You skipped a verse. And he had in his hand.
And he had in his hand a book,
Little
a little book open, and he set his right foot upon the sea and his left foot upon the earth. And he cried with a loud voice as if a lion roareth. And when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. And when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered and write them not. Revelation 10, 1 to 4. After these 7 thunders had uttered their voices, the injunction comes to John as to Daniel in regard to the little book, seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered. These relate to future events which will be disclosed in their order. The special light given to John, as it was expressed in
Which
was expressed in the 7 thunders, was a delineation of events that would transpire under the first and second angels' messages. 7 BC 971.
Volume 7. I'll say it'll be said, yeah, I guess that's right.
And he said unto me, seal not the sayings of the prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand. He that is unjust, let him be unjust still, and he which is filthy, let him be filthy still. And he that is righteous, let him be righteous still. And he that is holy, let him be holy still. Revelation 22, 10 and 11.
Ready?
And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book open, and he set his right foot upon the sea and his left foot on the earth. And he cried with a loud voice as when a lion roareth. And when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. And when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered, and write them not. Revelation 10, 1 through 4. After the 7 thunders uttered their voices, the injunction comes to John as to Daniel in regard to the little book. Seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered. These relate to future events which will be disclosed in their order. The special light given to John, which was expressed in the 7 thunders, was a delineation of events which would transpire under the first and second angel's messages. Seventh-day Adventist Bible Commentary, Volume 7, page 971. And he saith unto me, seal not the sayings of the prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand. He that is unjust, let him be unjust still. He which is filthy, let him be filthy still. He that is righteous, let him be righteous still. And he that is holy, let him be holy still. Revelation 22, verses 10 and 11.
Michael?
I don't have it today.
Brittany?
And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book, open. And he set his right foot upon the sea and his left foot on the earth, and he cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roareth. And when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. And when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered, and write them not. Revelation 10, verses 1 through 4. After these 7 thunders uttered their voices, the injunction comes to John as to Daniel in regard to the little book. Seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered. These relate to future events which will be disclosed in their order. The special light given to John, which was expressed in the 7 thunders, was a delineation of events which would transpire under the first and second angel's messages. Yesterday's Bible Commentary, Volume 7, page 971. And he saith unto me, seal not the sayings of the prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand. He that is unjust, let him be unjust still, and he which is filthy, let him be filthy still, and he which is that is righteous, let him be righteous still, and he that is holy, let him be holy still. Revelation 22, verses 10 and 11.
Good.
Anybody else want to do it today? Brother Noel? Okay, we'll do some more tomorrow. Yes.
I have a question about memorizing next week's. There's multiple quotes that say like Daniel 2, Revelation 5 that break up the flow. Do we need to memorize those in conjunction with the passage?
Where he quotes, do you mean?
Daniel 12:10,
Yeah.
Daniel 12:9.
I don't know.
It breaks up the. I'm just wondering
The
if
thought.
you want to.
Well, I don't. What do we want to do?
Memorizing.
You want to memorize them?
Yeah, it's good to know the references.
Well, a lot of times
They
when you're
seen
reading,
you were expressing a weakness, so they jumped
no,
on.
many times when you're reading, you don't add
That's
that.
fine.
When you're reading things, you don't add those in. You just read the flow.
Gotta add them in here though. That's what we established. Esther. So, when we were going through Esther some time ago, whenever it was, we marked verse 16 of chapter 4 as the midnight cry because of the I perish, and we marked that Esther had how many feasts for Ahasuerus and Haman? 2. And we said that the 2 feasts was the doubling at the midnight cry. But since that time, we've come to recognize that those 2 feasts are not the doubling. Okay, so we want to put that in the record. Because in between the first and the second feast, we have Haman's gallows getting built. So the first feast is the midnight cry, if I perish, I perish. But then the gallows is built, image of the beast testing time, and the second feast is what produces the death of Haman. So it's up there, right next to the Sunday law. But we have to, I don't remember what we taught exactly about the 30 days and the 3 days. The 30 and the 3 days of fasting and praying. So we're going to go back into that and try to put that in the record before we move on. And I think that's all that you told me about that you...
There's something with the lots too. Our understanding of the 13th day of the 12th month prior to the 13th day of the first month and 30 days between, I think is incorrect. And it was Lawrence and I think Mark even went and researched lot casting in that time period. And we understood prior, we've been saying, oh well, each day they cast a lot and each month they cast a lot. But what it sounds more like is on the first day of the first month, on that day, they cast a lot until they found the 13th day. And then they cast a lot until they found the 12th month. That was the traditional lot casting upon, actually all the witnesses say that from history and from
what's the point?
From the commentators. So the only thing that we lose is we lose that 30 days just preceding the 13th day of the first month. But what we get...
What do you mean we lose it?
Well, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, but what do you mean?
What I mean is, the first day of the first month, they do all the lot casting, and then you have 12 days until the 13th day of the first month when they write the decree. And so instead of...
So you're not saying a year process?
Yeah, it's not a year process. But what you do gain, you gain a 12, where you lose that structure of the 30 days right before the midnight cry. But from the first day of the first month to the 13th day of the first month, exclusively reckoning, like we reckon the 120, you gain a 12. So you have a 12 and a 70 still. And you don't lose any of the chronology from
Why do you have a 70?
Well, you still have the 13th day of the first month to the 23rd day of the third month. So that doesn't change at all. We just lose that year of Haman casting lots. It's not actually a year period. It's just all at once.
I didn't completely follow that, but how do you justify them when they say from day to day, from month to month, that they were casting lots? They specifically say that.
Yes, what it's saying, what it's actually saying, what it seems to be actually saying, is that from day to day means they cast lots from the first day.
Looking for that day. For that day. They're looking for the day.
Yeah.
From day to day, they're looking for the day. Okay, got the day caught. Now let's go from month to month and find out which month.
Because Haman had it in his heart, and it makes sense. Haman had it in his heart. He wanted to destroy the Jews. He wasn't going to be like, okay, here's 1 in the morning today. He wanted to get it done and get the day so he can kill the Jews. So he wanted to get it all out of the way. So everything took place in the 12th year of Ahasuerus.
Okay, so let's go to chapter 3, verse 7. And see if we can agree with that and move on. In the first month, that is the month of Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast pur, that is the lot, before Haman from day to day and from month to month to the 12th month, that is the month of Adar.
Notice that in the verse it says, in the first month they cast lots from day to day, from month to month. So it's kind of putting it like...
The process of elimination on the day and the month.
Yeah.
So, but when did they begin?
On the first I would say, well, I would say the first day of the first month.
So we're not losing that. When's the first day of the first month? 9/11.
Didn't he already know the day that he wanted it, so he was just kind of...
No, that's why it was
I
casting
thought
lots.
they knew it was Purim, though, and they wanted to do it when their celebration was, he wanted to...
During
That's
Moses'
after
birthday.
What?
Wasn't it Moses' birthday?
Well, that's reading in some historical commentary that he was so
It was on
hate,
that day.
his hatred was so intense against the Jews that the symbol of the Jews was Moses, and supposedly that's Hebrew commentary, but there is a prophetic way to show that with the death of Moses, but
They
it's a
do.
pretty big stretch.
The thing is, from the passage, Haman didn't have an idea of Moses' birthday prior. It was just the lots that told him what day. Because it says the lots fell on this day. Okay, now I can go. So he hadn't had an understanding. He consulted the lots. So we can't.
He wasn't manipulating it.
Yeah, it was just
If it was lot casting, it was letting the lots direct.
So the last part of the verse, where it says to the 12th month, that is the month Adar, and 2 is supplied, but this is the solution, or how do you say? The outcome of the lot casting?
Yeah.
Because they just give the month, but not the day.
yeah.
And they're going to identify the day in the decree. They know it when they go into the king, that when they put the decree in place, they're going to let you know what they determine. Is that what you're saying, Michael?
Yeah, I think what he's saying is, why wouldn't they say, if what I'm saying right now and the commentaries are correct and the history's correct, why wouldn't it say from day to day until the 13th day, and from month to month until the 12th month? So it would identify the day and the month the lots fell on. It almost, is that what you're saying?
Mm.
So it almost sounds like it's saying they cast from day to day and from month to month to the 12th month, and then they stopped casting.
That's what we determined.
That's what we
the
originally-
first
that's what
time,
we
and
originally
that's what
thought.
we
This
determined.
contributes to
Yeah.
our former...
This contributes to the former understanding, is what he's saying. It doesn't have to change. All I was saying is that when you go and you look at history, the lot casting was just a thing that they did all at once, and it would have been a
Which
quick,
month did it
relatively
follow?
quick process.
The 12th month.
12th month.
Well, that's what it said. They didn't have to cast.
Yeah.
They had to cast all the way to the 12th month. Otherwise, it would have said to the 6th month.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they cast until they got to the 12th month. They have both the day and the month now.
Well, where does it say they got the day?
That was the.
That's the point.
Where's it? Why does
Tell
it say
I thought-
today?
the way he's relating to it, it's identifying in the verse that they got the 12th month, but where in the verse does it say they got the 13th day?
It doesn't confirm it until actually it's written by
Yeah,
the,
that's what I'm saying. You can.
that's where you get the answer.
You have to compare scripture with scripture, and then you have the day.
So, Tanya, read verse 8,
And Haman
Paul
said-
verse 9, Jack verse 10, and we'll read down to 15. You ready to read, my brother? You're going to be verse 11 probably.
And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, There is certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the province of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people. Neither keep they the king's law, therefore it is not for the king's profit to suffer them.
Paul or Jack?
Which verse, what chapter?
Verse
9, chapter 3, verse 9 of Esther.
If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business, to bring it into the king's treasury.
And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman, the son of who? The Hammedath, whatever, the Agagite, the Jews' enemy.
Verse 11.
And the king said unto Haman, The silver is given to thee, the people also, to do with them as it seemeth good to thee.
Verse 12.
Then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month, and there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants, and to the governors that were over every province, and to the rulers of every people of every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language. In the name of King Ahasuerus was it written, and sealed with the king's ring.
Before you read that, so it's the 13th day of the first month. So what Michael is saying is that inclusively here we have 12 days.
Exclusively.
Exclusively. And when we get to the, pardon me? When we get to chapter 8, we're going to find that there's 70 days.
Inclusively.
So you got your 12 and your 70 that's already put in those slots that are the prophetic witnesses. So that goes to support you trying to solve that verse.
Yeah.
Go ahead, then.
And the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, little children and women, in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, and to take the spoil of them for a prey.
The copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, that they should be ready against that day.
The post went out, being hastened by the king's commandment, and the decree was given in Shushan the palace. And the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city Shushan was perplexed.
So when was the decree written?
The 13th day of the first month.
Okay, so at that waymark we have a decree. What's the second witness for that decree? We won't go there, but
Second Chronicles 30,
Second Chronicles
verse
30 verse 5. The decree that goes to Dan to Beersheba for the second Passover. Go to chapter 8.
I know I haven't been here, but so what decree is going to, in our time, what type of decree are they going to be issuing? Something that has to do with the Sunday law. Is that what we're understanding?
That's what we're understanding.
Okay.
You have an internal and an external line going through here. The external, at this point, there's a series of escalating Sunday laws that lead to the Sunday law that fulfills Bible prophecy at the Sunday law waymark. But the image of the beast testing time is a sequence of escalating Sunday laws and other laws that would prepare the legal structure for a Sunday law, no doubt. But that's the external. The internal, we know, has to do with the marriage. So you could also see some type of legal action about marriage, and so the speculation at this point is the Supreme Court ruling on gay marriage. The problem with that is it does not seem like we're in the right time frame for that to work, because they're supposed to be taking up these issues in the next couple of months, and it's not. It just doesn't seem
this
to
month.
fit. This month.
Or June,
okay.
so in a couple days.
Okay, so
it's not the time.
We're hoping that. Yes, Sister Brittany.
Maybe I'm the only one that doesn't understand Michael's argument, but
I don't either.
with that, we're throwing away.
That's not just Michael. You're also going after the Germans, which is okay.
Okay, the Germans included. I don't understand what just happened. We're throwing away the 30 days that falls right before the midnight cry. We're throwing away the 12 months. Why would they gather together before they finish casting lots to write a decree about what day they're going to kill the Jews?
That's what we're saying, is that they have finished it in one day. They did it all at once, not over the course.
It says they cast it from month to month.
Yeah,
from day to day, from month
No, what
to month.
he's saying is that expression from day to day and from month to month can mean that what they were looking for was a day and a month. They were casting lots from this day to this day. Is it the second day? Is it the fifth day? They're casting lot from day to day till they find the 13th. Then they're casting lots from month to month, meaning, is it January? Is it March?
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So
now
they're
I'm
saying the Hebrew justifies that kind of rendering.
Yeah.
And when you go to, and this is upon 5 or 6, 7 witnesses, if you go and look at all the commentaries, and I know we should trust a lot in the Protestant commentaries, but nevertheless, all of them unanimously say that that's how they casted lots. Historically, that's the way that they cast lots.
So they didn't literally do it. They were.
So we don't. So that's the historical.
No, it's
reference.
not giving you a it's not identifying the history that it took place in. It's identifying what they were looking for, a day and a month.
So in this timeline, we have no 30 days that falls before the midnight cry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Well,
going to
think
get
this
that
specific-
from Esther herself when she says, "I have not been called to go in for the last 30 days." But we're not there yet. We're in chapter 8. It's Marco's turn to read, and
So you're saying that Nisan was the month they were casting it, and they decided on Adar.
they decided
Yeah.
for Adar.
And Rowan,
Not starting in Nisan and going to Adar.
Right.
Okay, just to
to bring out this too, you at the very first where the, and I don't know if you remember this,
I remember.
but you were saying I think it's all at once
Yeah.
or something, and we were all like, no, it's not.
I know.
But,
I remember.
so I remember you saying that, so that might confirm what you were originally thinking.
Let's start in verse 10 of chapter 7, Brother Marco.
And he wrote in the king
Verse 10 of chapter 7.
7. So the Haman.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Esther 7:10.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified.
When was Haman hanged? Where do we place the hanging of Haman?
Son-in-law.
Just
Why?
before.
Because
It's 50.
The gallows are first built.
That's after the fact. Pardon me?
The gallows are built and then he's hung on them. On the
Okay,
second
but
day
why
of
do
the
we
feast.
place him at the
He
Sunday?
represents
that's-
the United
yes.
States,
that's-
so that's
No, you're all, those are all truths, but that isn't why. What's the Bible say about someone that's hanged?
Cursed.
Cursed is everyone that's hung up on a tree. Who's the classic example of someone hung up on a tree?
Christ.
Christ. This waymark is about the curse. What's the curse here?
25.
The 25-20. Okay, so we're placing Haman here. So let's read down to where we see this.
Didn't Haman die on the second day of the feast?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a that goes over the top.
Yep.
Sister Heather, verse 1. We'll read down till we get to the dates.
Chapter 8.
Yep.
On that day did the king Ahasuerus give the house of Haman the Jews' enemy unto Esther the queen. And Mordecai came before the king, for Esther had told what he was unto her.
And the king took off his ring which he had taken from Haman, and gave it unto Mordecai. And Esther set Mordecai over the house of Haman. And Esther spake yet again before the king, and fell down at his feet, and besought him with tears to put away the mischief of Haman the Agagite, and his device that he had devised against the Jews.
Then the king held out the golden scepter towards Esther. So Esther arose and stood before the king.
And said, If I please the king, and if I have found favor in his sight, and the thing seem right before the king, and I be pleasing in his eyes, let it be written to reverse the letters devised by Haman the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, which he wrote to destroy the Jews which were in all the king's province.
For how can I endure to see the evil that shall come upon my people? Or how can I endure to see the destruction of my kindred?
And the king Ahasuerus said unto Esther the queen and to Mordecai the Jew, Behold, I have given Esther the house of Haman, and him they have hanged upon the gallows, because he laid his hand upon the Jews.
Write ye also for the Jews as it liketh you in the king's name, and send it with the king's ring.
Seal it.
Seal it with the king's ring. For the writing which is written in the king's name and sealed with the king's ring may no man reverse.
They're sealed for eternity, one way or the other. There, Tyler?
Then were the king's scribes called at that time in the 3rd month, that is the month Sivan, on the 23rd day thereof, and it was written according to all that Mordecai commanded unto the Jews, and to the lieutenants, and to the deputies and rulers of the provinces which are from India unto Ethiopia, 127 provinces, unto every province according to the writing thereof, and unto every people after their language, and to the Jews according to their language, and according to their writing, and according to their language.
And he wrote in the king.
That's good. I think that's all we need to get. It was written in the 3rd month on the 23rd day. If you take the 13th day of the first month and put it over here, you get 2 months, which is 60 days. And you get 10 days. And 10 and 60 is 70 days from this, the writing of Haman's initial decree, to this. So you got 70 days in here. If we're going to relate to the casting of lots the way Michael and the Germans are suggesting. But here you're using inclusive, right? And here you're using exclusive.
It's actually almost a confirmation. When we count the 120 and the 70, we have the same dynamic of inclusive, exclusive.
So you got a 12 in here and a 70 in here. And what's the second witness to that?
12 and 70.
The disciples and the 7. Oh, that's not right.
Yeah.
Oh, that is
12 disciples, 70 disciples. Is there another witness to that? The 120 and the 70. So this seems to be valid.
I don't know how it is, because it seems like we're losing the first day of the first month if we're using their logic.
No, because it's still at the beginning of the first day of the first month.
You know, it just says in the first month. Apparently sometime within the first month they're just casting lots for a period of time, so we don't know.
Oh yeah, if you're going to use
then you do lose the
idiom
No,
day to day.
No, it would have to say which day they started on, because they started from day to day. It would tell you what day it started on if they were not starting on the first day.
If you use the expression, she's right.
The day to day is talking. If we're going to say that is describing their verb, their action in seeking a day, then you can't use that to mark the first day.
Yeah, you can't. It's true.
Oh, I get you.
And that was how we marked the first day.
Re-say it again,
month.
what you just said?
We use from day to day to argue that is allowing us to put it at the first day of the first month.
No.
Okay.
But we're saying now that the day to day is the activity of discovering which day you're going to write into the law.
Yeah, but
but
it says he started in the first month, right? So it's marking which month they started doing it in. And if they're going from day to day, they kind of.
No, they're not going from day to day. They're
No,
looking from day to day.
Please, if say he's starting on the 7th day, right? He's still going from day to day, looking from a day, but he can't check the day, the first, second, first, 5th, and 6th day, because they've already gone. They're not going to cast lots for those days because they're in the past.
No, you're stuck on the original premise. You got to break out of that.
I'm saying on the 7th day they're casting lots for the whole time, right?
Okay.
I'm just using one day.
All right.
They can't cast lots from the 1st to the 6th day because they're already past. It has to mark which day they began to cast lots on. Otherwise it wouldn't make sense.
Why can't they?
He would start on the first
Why
day
would he mark the first
because
month?
you would have to wait a whole year if he would pick a day.
Yeah, because of the.
When he chose the 5th day of the first month, but it's already the 7th day of the first month, then he would have to wait for a whole year to get to that date.
That's how we already understood.
So he would logically do this.
On the first
finding
day
of the day at
month.
the first day of the first month, so
Right,
that
that's what
he's doing it for the whole
but
year.
if the casting of lots, if I'm understanding his and your premise correctly, if the casting of lot is some technique that's going to give you the day of the month and then the month itself, You can use that technique at any time you want.
You can.
That's true.
Yeah.
But what they're saying is, though you can use it at any time you want, maybe, and I don't know if we have proof for this, but maybe Haman would have been like, okay, I want to start fresh. I'll start on the first day. Yeah, it doesn't
start fresh.
I want to start from the beginning and cast
It marks the first month, and it's purposely marking that, and it's marking the day in the month that he specifically picks it. Why would it not mark when they started? It wouldn't make sense to do that. That's what I'm saying.
What Brittany's doing is she's saying that when we use the approach that it's from day to day, that proves we start on the first day forward, first, second, third day, all the way through the year.
Yeah.
Okay? That allows us to tie it in with Ezra 7:9. But when we take the day to day and say this is simply describing the technique of arriving at the day, we can't use it both ways, can we?
No.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying, it's marking the first month.
Yes.
It said that's when they started it.
Yeah, but I agree. First month,
But
but,
they don't
we don't
have
have
a date
no
of
longer
the
in that
first
verse
day
have
of the first
justification
month.
for
For the
saying
days.
first day of
We
the
just
first
say the
month.
first month.
Yeah, but they're not marking when they started then. They're just saying the first month. When? The 29th day of the first month they started?
The 13th.
It had to be before the 13th at least.
Why? You're making an assumption that doesn't fit your
No.
premise.
I'm saying it could be the 13th, but did they go in right when they found it, or did he take a day to? I guess you don't know. So it has to be the 13th or before.
Oh, because of when he went in.
He couldn't be after the 13th, is what I'm saying. He couldn't have started after the 13th day. He had to start before. That's all I'm saying.
So they had to do it in the
But it
first
doesn't
13 days.
identify. You're right, Brittany, that it doesn't identify what day they actually cast lots on.
So it kind of destroys putting it at 9/11.
Yeah.
Other than the surrounding context.
Unless you have other witnesses.
I think that even when you say it from day to day, you still have not enough justification to really place it at first day of the first month.
Yes, you do, because they say from day to day, from month to month
That was
until.
our logic before.
That was our logic.
They
You start in the first month, from day to day, all the way through the 12th month.
You can start on the 15th to do day from day to day.
Yes, you can do this and still say day to day.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So
it doesn't even mark
it's not
when
enough.
you take it from that logic, it doesn't say from day to day from the first day.
Yes.
It just says that they're going through from day. Now, if he started, we'll use the 7th again. If he started then, he's still going from day to day, month to month. He gets to the 12th. So we had no justification really.
Okay, you do have justification. The way that we were approaching it is they were looking for a day and they were looking for a month. And we were approaching it as, okay, they're going to see the first day. Is that it? Nope. They're going to check it the next day. Is that it? Nope. The third day. They're going through looking for the day. So then they're going to go through and look for the month. And it's telling us that it starts in the first month, which tells you if that's the process, first month no, second month no, third month no, and they get to the 12th month and it's yes. That's telling you that they use the same logic on the days, which means begin on the first day, second day, third day.
Yeah.
That logic is there.
Was cast, I don't know, I've not looked at like these guys, but when casting lots, if they are looking for a specific day, would they not start on the first day of the first month? Is it not a thing for the year they're trying to find a specific day, so they're not, does it not say this?
Well, that's what they were saying. What if they started on the 20th day of the first month?
No, I mean the
Can they not
process.
start lots
No,
at
what
that
now?
time?
The
Wait
process.
a second. We'll get back to him. But what Michael brought up, which is valid, is once they find the day in the month, they go into the king on the 13th day of the first month.
So they couldn't.
So they had to be looking for it within the first 12 days.
Yep, they had to be in there. We know that they have to be before
Well, then
the
can't you
first
take
13.
the different lines and be able to lay it on there because of the
By the
past
context.
lines, by the
But
context?
back to what you're saying.
I'm just saying, is that by chance that it was just happened to be the first month he started this, or is this when they cast lots for something like that? Would they go to the beginning of the year and say, right, when I cast lots now for the whole year, is it got anything to do with the year, or is it just any random day they're just casting lots?
I think.
I saw, but we don't have enough information.
Yes,
to
what I was
say.
going to say is, historically, just from the passage, I don't think we have enough information to mark the day, but prophetically, I think if we did adhere to this view, we could still mark it as the first day of the first month because of the casting of lots. And I think there's another witness for that, but I might be wrong. They cast lots for Christ's garments on the cross. and we mark 9/11 as the cross in another line. So prophetically, you might be able to argue.
Not might be prophetically. This is sound.
Yeah, but so far as in
why
the
does
verse,
it sound prophetically?
Well, the structure we have witnesses for.
You have this witness and this witness.
Yeah.
And this witness establishes 70 days, and this witness establishes
that's
12. So
say.
as you feed it back in backwards, it's taking you to the first day of the first month, just from this structure, and you have witnesses to the 12 and the 70.
Yeah.
Right.
Prophetically.
But we just can't read it into the verse.
This verse probably doesn't contain the information.
If it doesn't, and if there's documents out there, then I think we should try to see if verse 12 through verse 15 took place in the 13th year of Ahasuerus. If we're in our original logic, we're saying that the lots began in the 12th year of Ahasuerus, and our original logic said that the next year, which would be the 13th year, is when it was written and it went forward. But with our new logic, that's, I don't know.
Is that what we're saying?
That's
yeah.
what. That's
the
what
12th year of Ahasuerus, right?
Yeah.
But it's written
On the 13th.
That's what we said before, yeah.
and it's predicting, it's putting the law into effect 11 months later in the same year.
Yeah, that's what we said before. It was the 12th and the 13th that we're dealing with.
In the same year.
But what we're saying.
I understand, but we were saying that it was the first month of the next year that it was written.
That it was written.
That's what we had said.
Oh.
So it would have been the 12th and the 13th. And she's saying then historically, what if, to maybe uphold one or the other, we can find documents to say what year of Ahasuerus it was written in. If it was written in the 13th, then our old view is correct. If it's written in the 12th, then our new view is correct.
Okay.
But either way, it's...
That's your job assignment, Sister Brittany. Bring us back into that assignment tomorrow. Yes, Brother Tyler.
What's our justification, not to undermine it or anything, but just to understand it, what's our justification of using exclusive reckoning at the beginning and then not at the end? Wouldn't you want a consistency there? Or does it have to do with the events that are taking place? Or is it just because it's convenient that it's a 12th and a 70?
You have a negative way of asking that question.
Well, it's a legitimate question.
We're using 9. Why do we count 120?
No, on the events, based on the events. But do the events that follow that same pattern?
No, wait a second. He gave you an answer, and you said you acted like you agreed with it. Do you know the answer to this question you're raising?
I know the answer for Ezra 7:9.
Isn't this Ezra 7:9?
No, but I'm saying, are the actual events that are happening correspond to the way that Ezra, the reasons we do Ezra that way? Do you see what I'm saying?
No, but I don't doubt that you're
Never
saying
mind.
it. What's he saying? Everyone else see what he's saying?
Yeah, why are you using inclusive and why are you using exclusive? I guess that's what he wants to know.
If you ask the question here, you should ask the same question in Ezra 7:9. So, and we have an answer for Ezra 7:9, so the answer would work for both.
But I'm saying...
And what is the answer for Ezra 7:9?
Ezra 7:9, you have 120 days bringing you to the point, the midnight cry, and then you have 70 days bringing you to, it'll bring you to the Day of Atonement, right? And so you count inclusively to include the Day of Atonement. And actually, Noel will probably give the answer
to the
better.
10th day of
to the
the 7th month, because they waited the entire 10th day of the 7th month until the disappointment came actually the next day, so they waited the entire day.
So you're saying this is inclusive?
Yes.
In Ezra 7:9. And my problem here is I think my cameraman brother knows this argument.
No, that's
What
not...
are you saying about Ezra 7:9 here in this history, the 120 days?
That you're counting from the first day of the first month, and the 120th day would be the last day, the 30th day of the 4th month. But it doesn't matter because 120 days brings you to the first day of the 5th month.
But what I'm saying, when you count the 120, it is
exclusive.
So this apparent dilemma in Ezra's story is identical to the apparent dilemma in Ezra 7:9.
For me, that's a confirmation more than a...
But you knew that, didn't you?
Yeah, I knew that.
Okay.
I'm saying my thing is, I'm not trying to. I agree with the structure that works. What I'm saying is.
Is this in Ezra 7:9? Are we doing this because it's convenient?
No. I'm saying we had a previous understanding of this passage, and then now we're bringing up another one, and to critique it to the point to where we can stand on it. I'm asking the question, with the 12 days we're doing, or with the 120, we do it till you get to the point, it gets you to that point, and that's why it's exclusive, and that makes sense in Ezra 7:9. But can you say the same logic for the decrees showing Haman casting lots, the decrees there? Wouldn't we have to understand, did he cast lots on the 13th day, or did he only do it on the 12th day, is the question.
And the answer is, we don't know.
Yeah, and that's...
The verse says on the 3rd.
Okay.
No, if you don't know.
Yeah, you don't
but
know.
I just want to add to this. This seems to be inconsistent. You know, oh, here it's exclusive, here it's inclusive, but it's just a way of expressing it. To stay consistent, we can say we have 12 full days and 70 full days.
And then the day that we're identifying
and
is the day of the
that's what we
disappointment.
need, right?
Yeah.
It's consistent. You have 12 full days and 70 full days, and you have everything included that you need.
The only thing is when you count 12 full days and 70 full days, the day that you're identifying at the end of 70 full days is the 23rd day.
And it has to be included. It must be in there.
There's the sun. Yeah, yes. And if you take both of the systems, exclusive and inclusive, and make them right on the same calendar, or right on the same line, you can see that both methods are important to understand. That's how I look at it.
Okay, let's go back to chapter. Where is it? Where we want to deal, probably chapter 4, but how much we have to read?
Chapter 2.
Chapter 2, you want to go to?
Yeah. The reference to the 12 months and the 2 6 months.
Oh, I thought you were dealing with the 30 days and the 3 days fasting. Okay, let's read chapter 2.
Yeah.
Who read last? Tyler?
Turn.
It's whose turn?
Kathy.
Okay, let's do 5 verses each so we can move through this.
2 verse 1, starting with?
Yep.
After these things, when the wrath of King Ahasuerus was appeased, he remembered Vashti, and what she had done, and what was decreed against her. Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, Let there be a fair young virgins sought for the king, and let the king appoint officers in all the provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan the palace, to the house of the women, under the custody of Hegi, the king's chamberlain, keeper of the women, and let their things for purification be given them, and let the maiden which pleaseth the king be queen instead of Vashti. And the thing pleased the king, and he did so. Now in Shushan the palace there was a certain Jew whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite.
Okay, so which decree is this? This is the second decree. And it's a decree for what? A gathering? What was the first decree?
Call and divorce.
Call and divorce. He called Vashti. She didn't come. He divorces her.
Then the call for the virgins.
This is the call to gather them. The gathering of the virgins. It's the second message. And what's verse 5?
Shushan.
It's a verse 5.
It's
about Kish. It's the eternal war. Okay, between the Agagites and God's people. Brother Jason.
Who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity which had been carried away with
Jeconiah,
king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar the king of Babylon had carried away. And he brought up Hadash, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother, and the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter. So it came to pass, when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many maidens were gathered together unto Shushan the palace, to the custody of Haggai, that Esther was brought also unto the king's house, to the custody of Haggai, keeper of the woman. And the maiden pleased him, and she obtained kindness of him, and he speedily gave her things for purification, with such things as belonged to her and 7 maidens, which were meet to be given her out of the king's house, and he preferred her and her maids unto the best place of the house of the woman. Esther had not showed her people nor her kindred, for Mordecai had charged her that she should not show it.
And Mordecai walked every day before the court of the women's house to know how Esther did and what should become of her. Now when every maid's turn was come to go unto King Ahasuerus, after that she had been 12 months according to the manner of women, for so were the days of their purification accomplished, to wit, 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 months with sweet odors, and with other things for the purifying of the women. Then thus came every maiden unto the king, whatsoever she desired was given her, with her out of the house of the women unto the king's house. In the evening she went, and on the morrow she returned unto the second house of the women, to the custody of Shagaz, the king's chamberlain, which kept the concubine. She came in unto the king no more, except the king delighted in her, and that she were called by name.
One more verse.
Okay.
Now when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her for his daughter, was come to go in unto the king, she required nothing but what Haggai, the king's chamberlain, the keeper of the women, appointed. And Esther obtained favor in the sight of them that looked upon her.
Here, I wanted to point out this also. It says, it's talking about Esther. She had not showed the people. She had just, it says, Mordecai charged her that she should not show it. Mordecai walked every day before the court, the women's house. And then what it says is, now when every maid's turn was come to go into the king, she, because after 12 months she had been purified. And then it says, thus came every maiden, thus came the maidens unto the king, whatsoever she desired was given to her, right? So what it doesn't say is, it doesn't say that Esther went in to see the king and then she went out to the second house. It says that this is how they did it. All the maidens came in and they went to the second house. But when Esther's turn came, she went in and she never came back out. She just stayed with the king. He found favor. She found favor in his eyes, and then he kept her. I don't know why that's significant, but we had understood it differently before, and what it's saying.
What did we understand differently?
Well, we had said before that she went in and then she came out to the second house.
I may have said that. I never meant to say that, because the concubine's house is what?
A whorehouse.
That's a crude way to say it.
But it is.
It is. And this is the maiden house.
And she went in there. That's where she went in and never came out.
She never went. Yep.
You go in, and you either become a concubine or a wife.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you already understood that.
All right.
Can I point something out? You know, we're talking about day after day. In Hebrew says yom yom. In here in verse Esther 2:11 says that Mordecai walked every day before the court. This word every day is only the word yom. There's only once. I'm just kind of trying to understand the significance of doubling up on the yom, the month, and over here still having only yom one day, but it says this every day.
Verse 16, I don't know. So Esther was taken unto to King Ahasuerus into his royal house in the 10th month, which is the month of Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head, and made her queen instead of Vashti. Then the king made a great feast unto all his princes and his servants, even Esther's feast, and he made a release to the provinces, and gave gifts according to the state of the king. And when the virgins were gathered together the second time, then Mordecai sat in the king's gate. Esther had not yet showed her kindred nor her people, as Mordecai had charged for her. For Esther did the commandment of Mordecai, like as when she was brought up with him. 3 verses, Sister Tanya. You're in verse 21.
In those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate, 2 of the king's chamberlains, Bigthan and Teresh, of those which kept the door, were wroth and sought to lay hands on the king Ahasuerus. And the thing was known to Mordecai, who told it unto Esther the queen. And Esther certified the king therein Mordecai's name. And when inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out. Therefore they were both hung on a tree, as it was written in the book of the Chronicles before the king.
So this takes place after she's married, because she's already the queen.
When you line it out one way, and you have 12 months from 9/11 to the Midnight Cry, then you have these 2 enemies, which are marked Hophni and Phinehas, all the other guys that are marked here in that period of the Midnight Cry. And then I was wondering, when it's mapped out that way, you have this hanging of these 2 people of Bigthan and Teresh, and do we mark that at the Sunday law? That they become a curse, they're hung, just like the other hanging of Haman.
There's a hanging before the Sunday law, so I'm not sure. We're not dealing with that though.
Okay.
In verse
Isn't there a hanging before the Sunday law?
Judas.
Judas.
Yeah.
And Christ is hung at the Sunday law.
Are we tagging all these different things in his because they're?
No, there's a whole bunch, but what we're taking, we're giving Mark opportunity to vent his understanding of this before he leaves town tomorrow for 3 months.
Okay.
So he's wanting to deal with the 6 months of purification and the 6 months of purification in the 1 year. Brother Lawrence?
Just a question, Michael, did, or in general, you place the Bigthan and Teresh before the Midnight Cry?
After midnight cry.
After
Yes.
all I said was
Okay, good. Because
it's after
Yeah.
she's married because she's queen, and he's saying that at the midnight cry we see double enemies on several witnesses, and here's a double enemies.
Okay, good. Because I thought I understood that Michael says place it before, but no.
Okay, Brother Mark.
verse 20. Basically, Mordecai commanded Esther to remain hidden, and she's not revealed till after.
Right, that's what I was just asking, and so it's right before the midnight cry, right? She's revealed.
Now, there is a hiding in this history,
On
a
verse
hiding
20.
in this history, a hiding in this history, a hiding in this history, a hiding in this history. You have to determine which hiding it is by the context.
Just a short thing, Esther actually means she who's hidden, her name. So, it's just an interesting side note.
Where'd you find that?
I have to double check it again, but...
That's a new definition of her name. We've had other
Yeah.
definitions of her name. We've never heard that one. It must have been hidden from us until now. Right?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, in regards to all those things, when you look at it, we understand that you can have a multiple, you can read a whole passage and it can all be referring to one point in time, and it's just lots of confirmations. When you have many confirmations here that this is referring to the midnight cry.
What is referring to the midnight cry?
This passage, well, not this passage, when you get to the 12 months and forward.
When you get to the 12th, the end of the 12 months.
Where's that? What
Where's
verse?
12?
Yeah, the end of the 12 months.
Okay, when you get to the end of the 12 months, you're saying it's the midnight cry.
Yeah, and it's specifically breaking down that 12 months into 2 6-month periods, and I think that's a reference in the message of the second angel. But going bypast the thing we've already spoken about them going into the different houses, we come down to verse 17. It says, the king will love Esther above all the women. So this is marking he's going to marry her, right? And he's going to put a crown upon her head. Now, we know we have a 1 month period there before the midnight cry. And when you take Smyrna, and Smyrna's the persecution of Smyrna's marking the last 10 years. So that last 10 years, we already placed it
You're
in
talking about this way mark here.
Yeah, that way marked there. So it's marking a number 10 in there, marking a period of persecution and a test that's taking place. But it says if you hold faithful to the end, you'll receive a crown. So there's a crowning marked at the midnight cry. And here Esther is being crowned, and also Christ is crowned there, Mordecai's crowned there, there's many places you go in the Bible where the royal apparel is given to them right there. Daniel is offered a scarlet robe, which is royal apparel at that particular point in time. So what I'm saying is you have a prominent witness here that this is marking the midnight cry on that point alone. But then you go to verse 18. It says, then the king made a great feast. We've got several witnesses marking a feast at the midnight cry. But the one here that specifically marks it, there's 2 points in here. It says, the king made a great feast, cut to all the princes and his servants, even Esther's feast. And he made a release. Now, we marked, I think we did mark it, Deuteronomy.
Not in here.
15 and, no, we didn't do it in here, that's right. It was
Deuteronomy
15 and verse 1.
Go there.
It says, okay, let's read it. It says, at the end of every 7 years thou shalt make a release. So we know we have 7 years, good years, from Genesis 41 that marks.
So wait, before you say that, you're now saying that if we're going to apply Deuteronomy's release with Ahasuerus' release, then this period of time would be the end of 7 years.
Yeah. But we already have confirmation from that from Genesis 41.
In Genesis 41, you got 7 years of plenty that bring you to the midnight cry, and then 7 years of famine.
Yeah.
That's after the Sunday law.
Yeah.
No, that leads to the Sunday law.
Oh, leads to the Sunday law. Where was the plenty? From the 9/11?
From 9/11, we're in the time of plenty right now. Okay.
It says, and then it goes on, it says, he made a release to the provinces and gave gifts. And the gifts, we understand the gifts are marking the restoration of the gifts. We know at the midnight cry that all the gifts are going to be restored. The spirit of prophecy is going to be restored. So there's another witness right there. And then the very next verse says the virgins were gathered the second time. Now, we were trying to apply this in a secondary application to Sunday law, but when you look at the gathering of the virgins is based upon a 3-step testing message. At 9/11, the virgins are gathered and they go through this 3-step test. At the midnight cry, they're gathered and they go through this 3-step test. The second gathering of virgins is the Levites, because the virgins are Adventists. So you've got 2 gatherings. You've got 9/11 to the midnight cry, and from the midnight cry, the Sunday law. When you gather virgins at the Sunday law, it's a different gathering. It's like the conclusion of those 2 gatherings where they've been brought together. They're not going through a 3-step test, so it's a completely different prophetic marker. So
well, yeah, but and I'm not arguing with you, but there's a gathering here of the 11th hour workers that are going to go through a 3-step testing process.
Yeah.
What you're saying, without saying it, is that the gathering occurs at these waymarks, and you have to make a distinction about which gathering it is, and you're saying that the gathering of Esther and those virgins is the first gathering, and then the second group of virgins here is talking about the Levites, because Esther was the priest.
Yeah, and the virgins. The virgins is Adventists, not the 11th hour workers. So I'm saying that there's all these witnesses there, and then Michael's point, when it comes to the king's gate, right, it's marking, we know there's a gate there, we know there's a judgment takes place, and Big Than and Teresh are marked it. And we've got, I don't know how
marked where?
At the midnight cry. We've got these 2 enemies dying there, this doubling, okay? So we've got a whole bunch of things. So
that isn't what Michael said, that's what you're saying.
No, I'm saying the point that he brought up. He was asking, are we putting it here or are we putting it there? And Lawrence was saying the same, but I'm saying it by the context and all the other witnesses we've got, I'm saying that this is referring to the midnight cry.
The question I had was, did they? I know they're marked at the midnight cry. Their activity as enemies is marked at the midnight cry. But where do we mark their dying?
I think Mark's saying they die here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they die here.
Oh, no, I'm open for that. I'm a bit confused
because Esther's involvement in their death is she's already queen, and you just told us she got the crown at the midnight cry.
I'm not saying that they die there, but they're marked there. We've got lots of them marked, and they're hanged. So
they're hanged at the end of their story.
Right. I'm in agreement with their question. I wanted to.
Okay. Sister Brahman?
I see this as a fractal of the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is laid out super clear in verse 16. In the 10th day and the 7th year, right there when we've lined that up at the Sunday law. So that's the big picture. That's where we put the sweet odors and myrrh between 9/11 and the midnight cry, and the midnight cry and the Sunday law. We've taken it and stretched it out.
So you're saying the big picture is a year from here to here?
Yes, and I think
And
this is
a fractal.
a little small picture of the big picture. That's.
So that's what I'm asking. So explain how virgins are gathered at the Sunday law through a 3-step test.
Every person that's gathered into Christ's kingdom has to go through a 3-step testing
No, but they're not virgins. Virgins are Adventists.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And only Adventists are gathered. There's a gathering that starts from Dan to Beersheba.
No. I get his point. I get your dilemma, but I don't necessarily agree with this point, because the virgins being gathered can also typify the 11th hour workers being gathered without insisting that they're virgins. There is a gathering here.
Yeah, I know, but that's not what it says. I'm just going about, you've got all those points. We can't overlook all those things.
No, I'm agreeing with you. The fact that it says the virgins are gathered a second time is talking about the gathering here of the priest virgins and the gathering here of the Levite virgins. But both this gathering and this gathering, both at the prophetic level, are identifying the gathering of the 11th hour workers here. So you can still read that into here as the big picture of this fractal.
It's Sister White in the Great Controversy, when she's talking about entering into the marriage from October 22nd forward, she says that everybody who comes in to the Advent faith and professes, and follows on to know the truth, professes Christ is the most holy place, is entering into the marriage. And only in the parable, only virgins enter into the marriage. But we know 11th hour workers enter in. So to your point, are they virgins? Well, no, because the virgins are the 144,000. They have to come out of Adventism, but they still enter into the marriage. And the parable only allows for virgins.
What's the definition of a virgin?
It's not fornicating.
Professing a pure faith.
Professing of pure faith.
Yes.
So here, they're holding on to Sunday sacredness. Here, what do?
They let go of it.
They let go of it. They're suddenly purified. But finish your point.
No, those were my points.
See, her argument, one of her arguments, I don't know if she'd make this argument, is that we have another line in here of Ahasuerus' first feast at 180 days, which is 6 months. So we've got 6 months as a second witness in here, and then 6 months, but you're putting them both in here, which I don't have a problem with.
As a fractal, though, not as the largest picture.
As a fractal, but now the point where I'm hoping he gets to, and because I don't want to have to teach his point, because I might want to oppose part of it.
You don't know what I mean.
The 30 days and the 3. When she says, I haven't been called in these 30 days, fast with me for 3 days. That's the part I remembered that you wanted to deal with. So you got roughly 8 minutes.
Okay, right. That's in chapter 4.
Verse 11.
Yeah, it's verse 11. I'm trying to gather my thoughts now.
Well, you want to make some more? You want to stay on this one thought and finish it off?
No. I'm happy. I also see Roman's points, but we need just to be clear how we can apply that both ways. That's all. I'm not opposed to either thing, but those markers in there that we had to, I felt that we were overlooking, and we had to put those in place before we made a decision.
It says in those days, in verse 21 of chapter 2, in those days when Mordecai sat. So that allows me to see Big Than and Teresh in those days that we've marked. It doesn't have to be consecutive for me.
So where's
In those
the,
days while Mordecai sat in the king's house to the king's chamberlain. So in those days that we've set apart from 9/11.
You got a marker. It has to be from here to here at minimum because he's going to deal with the queen. She's got to be queen.
Okay. So
it's
in
gotta
those
be
days.
in
it's
those
giving you
days.
Those days, we've already decided she's queen. So there's where you have Big Fan and Teresh. But it doesn't have to run just like this, does it? Linear.
No, it doesn't have to. I'm
You
just
can
saying you have
repeat
a
and
marker
mark.
in there that
Okay.
prevents you from putting it back here because she's not queen yet.
Okay. That makes sense.
So what? Let me, if I'm understanding this right, these two thoughts. Mark is saying that the gathering of the two virgins is emphasizing the gathering of the first fruit offering of Adventism, the priest and the Levites. Therefore, the second gathering is here, and he's bringing to the argument that that Esther is crowned here.
is it released?
There's a release. There's gifts, and we already have evidence that this is where the spirit of prophecy is restored. The gifts are restored. So he's putting it here.
But we've already admitted it. Gathering of the second times is the concubines. We've already admitted that the first gathering is virgins, so the second one is the concubine gathering. Esther wasn't part of that, so that would have to put it at the 11 power workers. You just wrote it down there. Maidens and concubines, the second gathering of the people. She wasn't a part of that, so it couldn't
So
be
what?
that.
So wait, you're saying here's the priest, here's the Levites. This has to be concubines.
Concubines.
What's a concubine?
It's a prostitute.
Okay, so who's getting gathered? Who are the 11th hour workers?
Previous prostitutes.
They're the daughters of Rome.
Okay.
And what is Rome?
The mother
She's the
of
whore.
harlots, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so probably this is concubines, but
Yeah.
that's not my point. In here, Mark is identifying 2 6 months purification process, and he's addressing that by saying that at 9/11 we have the second angel's message arrive. 6 months, 6 months. There's a doubling marking the second angel's message. But you're taking the big picture. You're saying the first purification is here, the second is here. I think both of them are valid. That this is the big picture, this is the fractal, and that I think it's acceptable to use the gathering of the priest virgins and the Levite virgins as typifying the gathering of the concubines.
Yeah. And from the midnight cry to the Sunday lost, also 7 years. So the release from Deuteronomy 15:1 still applies at the Sunday law. There has to be a release there because it's the end of 7 years. So it's
Are there gifts restored at the Sunday law?
the full outpouring of the latter rain.
Full outpouring of the Holy Spirit?
Is there a feast?
But is there gathering here
Yes.
of sheep in any other story that Mark likes to use in this argument?
Nabal.
Nabal. He's gathering his sheep to shear them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, let's move. You've got just a couple minutes if you want to deal with the 30-day. In fact, I don't think you can do it.
No.
Any other comments?
I'll make the one point, right? When you go down to verse 16 of chapter 4, it's just for something to think about. It says, "Go gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, neither eat nor drink 3 days." And she's saying, fast for 3 days, and on the third day, I'm going to go into the king. And then it says, if I perish, I perish. Now, there's another witness, I can't remember what it is, that marks the perishing at the on midnight cry. Now, it may mark other markers as well.
But the doubling of I perish, I
That
perish
perish,
marks
perish,
it there.
yeah.
And the third day marks
So
it there.
the third day, so therefore the first, second, and third days take
Where does
place.
she say she's going in on the third day?
To the king.
She says it, just read it by context.
By
She's going to go in on the third day.
Verse
she says,
1,
first
verse
fast
1
for
of
me
chapter
for 3
5.
days, I'll do likewise. And then on the third day I'm going in, and if I perish, I perish. It's not if I perish on the first day.
Regardless, verse 1 of
Verse
chapter 5.
16
It could be the
says,
fourth day.
No,
Yeah, it
no,
could be
no,
because she
no,
says
it
it
can't
would
be
be
the fourth
for
day.
3
Read
days,
verse.
night or day.
Wait a second. Read verse 1 of chapter 5.
Yeah, on the third
On the
day.
third day.
Now it came to pass on the third
Okay, go
day.
ahead. Yep, got
And it
it.
says
okay.
on the
Yeah.
third day she puts on royal apparel. So it's marking the royalty there
Change
again,
of
the change of
garments.
clothing. So this is a fractal, and I'm saying that we've already marked a 3-step testing process in that 30 days, right? And she's marking there, she says, I've not been called these 30 days. So I can't remember my thoughts, and I'm sorry, I've got a bit of a blank mind there. But also, maybe something that I'll link it to together is in verse 14. there's a proclamation by Mordecai that if you don't proclaim this, then you're going to be passed by, somebody else is going to proclaim it. And as I am understanding, the whole point of this latter rain message is to make this prediction, this proclamation. If you don't make it, then you're not part of the wise virgins. So that proclamation is being marked by this 3-step.
Okay, I'm gonna close this out. The three days, the big picture, she's going in here. But we're putting it at the midnight cry because I perish, I perish. Okay, so you got the 3-step testing process from 9/11 to the midnight cry. What Mark is pointing us to is this 1 month. That's in this month. This is the 3 days. Okay, and this is the binding off period that we're dealing with. And he's now at least inferring that there's a class in this history from the priests that if they don't agree, like Esther did, to go in and give this message that is what? It's unsealed here. It's been hidden. This is going to test this little group to see whether they're going to participate in the proclamation of this message that's been unsealed. And if they refuse to do it, then they're not demonstrating the character of Esther. If they do it, they're demonstrating the character of Esther. They go in before the king, they receive the royal garment, apparel, and so on. And so forth.
There's another witness for that third day. It's John 2:1. It says on the third day there was a marriage at Cana. We know we mark the marriage at Cana at the midnight cry. So I get your point. There's a marriage at there, so that there's other things to look at. I just thought those things were cool.
Okay, just one last thought because he brought it up to make a point that we have talked about outside this class. I don't know exactly how to say this correctly. But when you're dealing with fractals, if you're going to use the math world as your point of reference, the definition of a fractal, in the way I say it, I know it's probably not totally correct, is this little portion of the big picture is going to possess the characteristics of the big picture. Yeah. Okay, so mathematically it tells me, and I'm not a math genius, that you first have to determine the characteristics of the big picture, and second, the little, so you have a point of reference. And what we're doing, we're getting so wrapped up in what's being opened up, is sometimes we look first at the little fractals, and our mind's so blown by them that we're almost unwilling to check it out and see if it lines up here. But the times that we've been struggling in this group over this issue, it seems like when we go and check the characteristics of the little area, they do fit the big picture, and I think we need to look at the big picture as the point of reference. If you don't have the big picture, the big portion, you haven't defined what the characteristics of the little portion is. At least that makes sense to me mathematically. Brother Larry, you want to help?
Well, before we do, I know I'm a first day student, but I wanted to ask about the divorce. I understand the call and the gathering, but what power are we divorcing? Because you divorce, if she divorces, yes, right. So what power is that divorcing? Because it's
he divorces her because she doesn't call.
Right, but
what call the church? They refuse to come, so that
God is divorcing them.
Okay,
I'm with you.
Yeah, but it's when he remembers her in chapter 2 and verse 1. It's marking the butler who remembers also at 9/11 Millerite history. She was divorced because of what she did through Millerite history.
I got it. God's divorcing the church.
You want to have closing statement?
Heavenly Father, we come before you, and I just want to thank you for your mercy, your grace, and the wisdom and the light that you're pouring upon your people in the closing scenes of this earth's history. I pray that we will rise up to the call, and that we will be prepared to give the last warning message to the dying world. And we thank you that we, if are chosen, and if we are found faithful, that we can be a part of that glorious work. And as Sister mentioned, she wants to think of her dad as he's traveling. Just give him traveling mercies today. And I ask for a special blessing again upon Future for America and all those that are involved, that they will do the work that you have appointed for them to do for this world. And we thank you for this in Jesus' precious name. Amen. Amen.